Here's a short analysis of a small Roman fresco at the Metropolitan Museum in New York City. It comes from the villa of Fannius Senestor at Bosco Reale, just north of Pompeii. The villa was buried by the 79 AD eruption of Vesuvius. It's a Republican period fresco measuring 1.47 by 1.18 meters and originally formed part of the decoration on the north wall of the peristyle or courtyard near its western end. The fresco depicts a vase or a trophy with a pair of palm fronds behind it. This panel is only a fragment of a larger frescoed wall. Excavators removed this and many other frescoes, and the villa was subsequently reburied around 1900. As a result, the exact appearance of the surrounding painted surfaces isn't known. We can no longer see the full decorative field or how this panel related to adjacent elements. There's really nothing special about this fresco. It was just background decoration. However, the composition's simplicity, the clarity of its curved forms, and the numerous cracks and scratched lines in the background make it a particularly good example for identifying the application of the binary circle grid pattern in ancient frescoes. In the following slides, I'll show you where the various curves and surface marks align with specific circle grid diameters. Here's a higher contrast version of the previous image. Here's the primary circle grid sweeping up from below. Because the original painting was part of the north wall of the peristyle, these circles would have undoubtedly extended across a larger surface area than this preserved fragment. The clearest correspondence in this layer is the curve of the lid, which matches this primary diameter closely. In addition, the intersection of the primary arcs gives us the center vertical axis of the vase, aligning with its central stem and the midpoint of the lid. Numerous cracks and background scratches also align. In some cases, the scratches and cracks are slightly off the digital circles I've constructed due to the inevitable margin of error resulting from the probable application of these larger diameters with a string and stylus setup. Here's the second circle grid wiping up from below. One of the palm fronds, rising from the lower left, tracks that arc exactly. The underside of the oval body of the vase also aligns. Another palm fronds, directly above the lid, tracks concentrically, curving downwards to the right. Along the right side vertical edge, prominent tangential cracks and scratches match this diameter, suggesting that the pattern was indeed inscribed beyond the limits of this fragment of the larger wall fresco. In the area to the upper left, a number of arcs in the background correspond to this diameter, and several scored arcs along the vertical center axis, swinging upwards to the left, follow as well. On the marble block to the right of the base, scratches and prominent veins in the faux marble pattern align with the circle diameter, and you can clearly see them continuing below the bottom of the block at the base of the fragment. This is the fourth circle grid sweeping up from below, 1/4 of the primary diameter. The height of the oval body of the vase matches this radius exactly, and both the width and the height of the neck, from the top of the oval body to the rim of the lid, also align. A palm leaf to the left of the neck rises along an arc that meets the central axis at the level of the lid. The concave sides of the top of the lid track those arcs perfectly, and a prominent crack just above the left edge of the lid follows the same diameter. On the marble block to the right, both the prominent vein and the forward top edge of the block align with this circle. Here's the 1/8 diameter sweeping up from below. It matches the width and height of the neck of the vase precisely. And the upper part of the handles also track arcs of this diameter. The width and height of the smaller central marble block that the vase stands on also corresponds to a circle, as does the upward sweep of the vase's base from the top of that block to the underside of the oval body. Numerous scratches and surface marks in the background align with this layer as well. And in the Greek meander frieze at the top of the fragment, several of the turns in the pattern begin to fall along this grid, suggesting a broader relationship to the full wall decoration. Here's the 1/16 layer sweeping up from below. Numerous scored arcs and circles in the background correspond to this smallest diameter, and the dimensions of the Greek meander modules follow as well. This slide shows the complete circle grid pattern sweeping up from below. Here we see the circle grid pattern all by itself without the fresco. And we return to the original image. Here, we're zooming in on the upper right quadrant of the fresco to highlight several alignments. Cracks, scratches, and obvious compositional forms, all of which exhibit a striking correspondence to the layers of the binary recursive circle grid pattern. I'll introduce each slide with the diameter, but then cycle through the layers without narration. This is the primary circle grid sweeping in from the left. Here's the second circle grid sweeping in from the left. Here's the fourth layer. The eighth layer. Here's the 16th layer sweeping in from the left. And finally, here's the full circle grid pattern sweeping in from the left. And here we return to the original image of the fresco. Thank you very much for watching.